I actually dealt with personal inertia right before this talk. A couple summers ago, I had the opportunity to intern at a startup in the Bay Area. And for the longest time, this was my dream. These were the people I wanted to meet. And by the end of it, it was by far one of the best and most memorable experiences that I've ever had. I learned a ton about marketing, about startups, about venture capital, and so much more. But more importantly, I met some pretty cool people, from students at other universities to some truly impressive individuals who had started million and billion-dollar companies. Now, my internship program gave us the opportunity to meet with some of these people. They told us that they were here as a resource for us, and all we had to do was to email them, reach out to them. They made it abundantly clear that that was one of the major points of the program. And so that's what I set out to do in June 2016. I was going to email these people, contact them, set up meetings, get coffee, a lot of coffee, meet up with these people, learn from them, and just make great connections. 70 days later, my internship was over, and I had met up with 2 people. And then I went home. To this day, I still ask myself, why? Why had I only met up with 2 people the entire summer? These people were entrepreneurs, they were investors, they were venture capitalists, they were industry professionals. These were all people I wanted to meet, but I didn't. Was it because I was too busy at work? No, I went to work from 8 to 5. Was it because I was too busy outside of work? Not really. Honestly, there were a lot of evenings when I went home after work, watched TV, ate, and went to bed. And so I asked myself, why did I have this amazing opportunity, literally in my lap, but I didn't take full advantage of it? I think a big part of why I didn't was because of personal inertia. Personal inertia is being unable to change your current behavior due to mental and psychological factors. It's not a phrase most people know, but pretty much everyone knows what it means. Personal inertia is that feeling you have when it's 9 a.m. and you're in bed. You don't want to get out of bed, even though you have class in 15 minutes. It's that feeling you have when you're standing at an info session and you see the recruiter standing at the front. You know you should go talk to them. It can only help you, but you don't. It's that feeling you have when you're sitting at your computer and you see an email that's kind of important, and you know you should probably reply to it, and it would only take a couple minutes, maybe more. But you don't, and you put it off for a week. No reason at all. It's that feeling you have when you're submitting an application to an internship, a position, a job, a scholarship, whatever, and you're just sitting on the application, not submitting it, for absolutely no reason. And then the deadline passes, and you missed your opportunity. I've dealt with personal inertia a lot, not just for myself, but from people I meet around me all the time. A couple months ago, I was organizing this info session for an organization called Y Combinator, one of the largest and oldest startup accelerators in the world. And at this event, we had a partner from Y Combinator named Adora come down to Georgia Tech to speak to students and founders who were interested in applying. And at this event, we had about 60 or 70 people, so it was a pretty full room. A couple hours later, the event's over, and I'm just standing near the exit, watching the last 6 or 7 people finish talking to Adora because, of course, everyone wanted to go talk to her after the event was over. And I see these 2 people walking towards the exit. Before they could make it to the exit, I intercept them, and I asked them what they thought of the event. They told me that it was great, and they learned a ton from Adora. Then I asked them, did you get a chance to speak to Adora after the event? And they told me, no, they hadn't talked to her. The line seemed kind of long. She was probably busy and tired, and they were just going to go home. Then I asked them, are you doing anything when you get home? And they told me, no, they weren't planning on doing anything. Then I said, are you planning on applying? And they told me, yes, of course they were applying. Let me get this straight. You want to apply to Y Combinator. Tonight, a partner from Y Combinator is specifically being paid to be here at Georgia Tech to speak to people, like you guys, who are interested in applying to Y Combinator. A lot of people want to talk to her because she's actually on the admissions team. And it's a very good chance that, if you guys apply, she'll probably be reading your application. And that's why a lot of people want to talk to her to get some useful insights about the app. And tonight, and only tonight, she's here in Atlanta, and she probably won't be here for the next couple of years because most of the other time, she's in other cities or she's back at her job in California. And the only thing stopping you is a line of about 6 or 7 people, and you weren't doing anything when you got home anyways. They got back in line. Now, I tell this story not because I love telling the story, but because I think it's a very good example of how deceptively hard personal inertia is to overcome. It's this mental construct of reasons, excuses, and figments of your imagination that you create that stops you from doing what you actually want to do. But in reality, there's nothing stopping you at all. It's just this thing you make up to fool yourself into thinking something is much harder than it actually is. People do this all the time with their decisions about their careers, their goals, their relationships, their life decisions. And you have to ask yourself, why do you hesitate? What's stopping you? Is there anything stopping you? Now, I'm telling this like it's very, very easy and simple to overcome personal inertia, and I'm an expert. But I wasn't always this way. In fact, when I was a lot younger, during my middle school and high school years, I actually dealt with personal inertia a lot. I was a pretty shy, timid, and unmotivated kid. I had this problem where I couldn't speak to people I didn't know that well. I also especially couldn't speak at a crowd like this. And I also had this weird habit of starting things and not finishing them. I would write stories, fiction and nonfiction, and just not finish them. I'd play video games for hours and not finish them. I'd start applications to scholarships, programs, colleges, and I wouldn't finish them. And I didn't know why. Maybe it was because I was embarrassed about what I was doing. Maybe it was because I was worried that whatever I was doing wasn't good enough. Maybe I was worried that whatever I was doing didn't seem like I was good enough for it. I didn't know why, but it bothered me because I didn't know what it was, and it didn't seem like anyone else had this problem. It just felt like I was letting people down all the time. And so it stayed with me for years. Then it all changed during my sophomore year in college. In college, I started a business called Elevate Media with my friend Wesley. And we started off just making videos for small companies on the side. It was just something we did for fun while we were in school. Then, one day of my sophomore year, we get a text from a friend. And as it turns out, our friend's dad worked at Coca-Cola, and they had a project for us. They had this new tech initiative they wanted to make a video about, and they asked us if we wanted to take on the project. And of course we said yes. How could we not? It was Coca-Cola. It'd be fun. As it turned out, the entire project, just a single video, took about 9 months. I mean, we were completely different people by the end of the project. It was insane how long it lasted. It was like we took everything that we normally did in a video project and extended it 10 times as long. And we're just so exhausted by the end of the project. But if I had to be honest, there were a lot of things during the project that took a long time just because Wesley and I didn't get things done. They'd send us, a slate of changes to make to the video, and we would just sit on it. No reason, it's not like we were busy. We just didn't do it. We'd wait a week, maybe 2, and then finally we did the work and sent it back. And then the process repeated itself over and over again. And eventually, we finished the project. But it did take forever. We kept asking ourselves, why did we let this project go on for so long? Personal inertia. We made up reasons and excuses for what happened, but in reality, a large part of the blame was on us. Throughout the project, there was cognitive dissonance. It's this concept of simultaneously holding two conflicting thoughts at once. On one hand, there wasn't really a reason for us to not do it faster, but on the other hand, there can't not be a reason. There's a reason for everything. So we created reasons to justify it to ourselves. And of course, we're not inclined to see something as our fault, so it's someone else's fault. And you can begin to see how easy it is to trick yourself into not doing anything at all and forcing excuses and placing the blame on other people and other things. But after that project, I was done letting personal inertia get in my way. I was done letting people down. And so I researched the issue and tried to figure out ways to overcome it. And that's how I came up with a framework for dealing with my own personal inertia. It's a series of questions. Oftentimes, people find themselves dealing with personal inertia in situations where, there's nothing actually stopping them from doing what they want to do. So when you find yourself in a situation like that, just take a step back and ask yourself these questions. Do I really want this? What's between me and my goal? What are the benefits I get out of this? Does this matter to me in the long run? In 2010, there was a study conducted by researchers at the U of I. This study was about self-motivation, self-talk, and how to best motivate yourself to succeed. In this study, they compared two groups of people. One group of people told themselves, I will do X before completing a certain task. And the second group of people asked themselves, will I do X before completing a certain task? They then had both groups complete that task and compare the results. As it turned out, the group that asked themselves, will I do X, did better. They ran the experiment again with a different task, and the results were the same. The researchers concluded that by asking themselves a question about their motivations and what they were going to do, these people had actually increased their own intrinsic motivation. So let's try these questions out. Let's just take an example some of you are pretty familiar with, applying to internships. Let's just say you're applying to an internship at a company like Microsoft. You've been sitting on the application for a couple weeks, you haven't made any progress, you fill out your first name but not the last name, and you decide, I'm stuck on this, I gotta get this thing done. So I'm gonna use this framework. Do I really want this? Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to work at Microsoft. What's between me and my goal? Well, currently, an internship application, that'd probably take me about 20 minutes to finish. What are the benefits I get out of this? If I get the internship, I could get good resume experience, good work experience, a lot of good connections, and like a ton of money. Does this matter to me in the long run? Yeah, I think working at Microsoft would ultimately help me in my career. And with that, the answer is pretty simple. Apply. There's no reason that you shouldn't. It's that simple. Now, of course, this framework can also be used to apply to other situations where you may not think it's appropriate, but I came up with it, so I'm going to do it. A couple weeks ago, I'm sitting at my desk staring at a homework assignment I have to do. It's just blank. There's nothing on it. It's been on the assignment page for the last couple weeks, but I haven't made any progress, and it's due in several hours. Georgia Tech. And I think, I'm stuck on this, so I might as well use the framework. Why not? Do I really want this? No, I really don't want to do this homework. What's between me and my goal? Well, currently, this homework would probably take me about a couple hours, maybe a little more. What are the benefits I get out of this? Well, if I did do the homework, I could potentially learn something from the assignment and maybe get a good grade. Does this matter to me in the long run? This class isn't tied to my major. I don't care about the class or its information. I'm a senior, so whatever I do in the class won't matter because it won't affect my GPA that much. I could get an F and it moved my average like 0.05. And honestly, I won't remember the class after I graduate. So with that, the answer is pretty simple. I didn't do the homework. I closed my laptop, went to bed, and when I woke up next morning, I felt great. No qualms. Honestly, this framework has helped me a ton. It forces you to look critically at whatever situation you're in and allows you to remove any sort of ambiguity you might have accidentally inserted into the situation. For the longest time, it always bothered me when I saw people getting stumped by personal inertia because it reminded me of myself, and I knew how it felt to get stuck like that. But eventually, I got tired of saying I was going to do something and not do it. I got tired of setting goals and not achieving them. I got tired of people relying on me and letting them down. I got tired of letting opportunity after opportunity, awards, scholarships, relationships, positions, internships, all these opportunities pass me by for absolutely no reason at all. And after I changed myself, I was just amazed. Not because I started getting more things done, but because people started treating me differently. They started talking to me differently. They were surprised by the progress I'd made. And sometimes, it still surprises me. You all have goals. You all have needs, wants, things you want to achieve. But oftentimes, the biggest barrier to that achievement is just yourself. And I see no reason why it should be that way. So next time you find yourself getting stuck on something, you can't seem to bring yourself to get out of that hole you dug yourself into, just take a step back and ask yourself these important questions. Do I really want this? What's between me and my goal? What are the benefits I get out of this? Does this matter to me in the long run? If you find that the answers are overwhelmingly positive, then you have no more excuses. Thank you.